All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Co-Ed Podcast, which is an educator podcast community for confessions, collaboration, communication, and of course, a little controversy. I'm Harris, and I'm here with my co-host, Coach Devin, or Coach. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it one of these weeks.
It's all
I'm gonna
good.
get the names correct for everybody. We're gonna make this a smooth and peaceful transition into this.
It's almost like we just met each other
I
yesterday.
know, I know. It's just different. We're used to using our just our cousin names. So
Yeah.
now we're trying to just make sure that we are being consistent.
No, I got you. I got you. I got you.
We have another episode for you guys. Today's topic. What's today's topic, Dad?
So today's topic, we are talking about there's good teachers and then there's great teachers.
Yes, yes. And what distinguishes the two? Now, granted, we also all know that there are going to be bad teachers. We're just going to swerve those right now.
Go around them.
We're just going to go right to the side of them, just to make sure that we are, keeping in a certain time frame for you guys to make sure that we are letting you know our opinions.
Yeah.
We want to, make sure that you know that these are our opinions on what makes or what distinguishes the good from the great. Dev, what do you think a good teacher, or what do you think distinguishes a good from a great teacher?
All right, so I think thinking of a good teacher that I had, okay. I would probably think of my Spanish teacher.
Okay.
She was a good teacher because she cared a lot about us learning Spanish. She cared a lot about, she was really good at breaking it down. She was tough on us at times, and she very much, I don't want to say at times, she was tough on us all the time.
Okay.
And she challenged us, and so we learned how to sing an entire song in Spanish, and I sing it to my daughter now.
Right.
And so, just having a high bar for us, is, I think, is the first step. Is like, you have to have a high bar for your kids if you're going to be a good teacher. Now, there's ways to get them to that bar that I think separate a good teacher from a great teacher. And so I think what she, one of those things is, do you challenge, right? A good teacher will always challenge kids. Whether the bar is up here, they'll always find a way to challenge, not just stay at the status quo and kind of get by, but find ways to challenge them.
Now, would that be a good or a great?
I think so. I think a good teacher will challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think I think there's levels to that challenge.
Okay.
But I think a good teacher will challenge, and then I also think that a good teacher will have a certain authority and empathy in the classroom.
Okay.
I think bad teachers, they concentrate so much on authority that they just forget the human part of the classroom part, So we don't need to worry about that. I think there's a really good balance between like having an authority in the class, but having a really strong level of empathy as well will make you a good teacher. And then the more you build on those types of things, how you build authority in the class, how you, I think there's levels, and we can certainly talk about that, but how you use empathy, and just building that classroom culture. That's kind of what I think about.
Okay.
Will take you from a good teacher to a great teacher. A lot of good teachers, it's me to you, but if it's me to we, right?
Okay.
That's much more powerful when students can also control the learning versus you just giving spitfire. Yeah. So I think that's what would first start off with a good teacher. Your classroom, like, are you challenging them? And then do you have a varying level of a good mixture of authority and empathy? We can kind of start there. There's so many other things, but I kind of want to just start with like, some of those basic things, when we get to being a good teacher. From your experience, what are some of those things that you've seen that makes, a good teacher?
For me, it was not coming in when a teacher didn't uh judge me by my background. They Now I went to a predominantly like white high school,
Mm-hmm.
and so sometimes I felt that there was a preconceived notion that I was not at the same level as, or needed to do more
Mm-hmm.
for, or and so I found, and when I say that this is one of my favorite teachers to this day, we stayed in communication, and I'm mad that I kind of stopped that part, but my favorite teacher was a teacher from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, like I said, that kind of came in with a couple biases from the staff there
Yeah.
at that school, but she didn't have any of those. Like, it felt as though each and every student was her child
Mm-hmm.
in that classroom, and you can feel the love from the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But she allowed us to be ourselves within the realm of our classroom,
Mm-hmm.
while also offering that support and that help if you did need that help and support, and didn't make you feel any less than as a student if you didn't get something right away.
Yeah.
To the point where I was going to her. I had her maybe 9th or 10th grade, and I was still going to her in 12th grade
Mm-hmm.
to ask for help, because she had like more of an open door policy, and held a high standard. Like, we still were learning in the classroom, things were still happening, but she didn't make you feel any less than.
Mm-hmm.
And you could feel how genuine of a person she was, and she brought herself. She didn't try to be anybody else. She didn't try to, relate in a way that she thought we would understand, and meaning, oh, I'm going to try to wrap the periodic table. No, it wasn't that. She wasn't trying to. She wasn't that. No, she just was her genuine self, and appreciated us for who we were as people.
Yeah.
And we understood the assignment. So it was a good feeling to have that particular teacher like love on me in that particular way, and have that continuity across the classroom.
Yeah.
So how
would you frame that as a skill? Like, what would you say,
building a relationship?
So she was good relationship builder. Okay.
The relationship was definitely key for how hard a student will work in a classroom and be willing to go above and beyond what the minimum of the task is.
Yeah.
And not just complete the assignment, but be willing to apply this assignment to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do not have that relationship, then the student is not going to necessarily trust that you're taking them on the right path or the right journey. They could care less. So
now, how would you, if you were to think back to her,
mm-hmm.
or think about yourself, how would you suggest someone go about building a relationship? Like, a lot of people, struggle with doing that.
It's
so they might need a method mm-hmm. of doing that. Like, for me, the first thing that I always did is bring myself down as an mm-hmm. authority at first, right? Mm-hmm. So I humanize myself. I share facts about myself and how they apply to whatever subject we're teaching, mm-hmm. right? And so they can see, like, okay, this guy is doing something, but he kind of understands like where I am mm-hmm. and where I need to go. And so that's the first thing that I do when I go in. And that might be through a game. It might be through like index cards, 2 truths and a lie, mm-hmm. And like just kind of breaking it down, and then, having like a circle time, and just having everybody share a part of themselves. Mm-hmm. Right. And then within that, making sure that you set the boundaries within your space, right? Because mm-hmm. you're sitting in a circle with kids, and one kid speaks and they might say something, or God forbid they stutter or something mm-hmm. like that, and now you got kids making fun of them on the first 2 days. It's like, man.
How do you reverse that?
How do you reverse that? So you got to set those boundaries early, mm-hmm. but not be afraid to have those things in your class, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think, like, when you think back to your teachers, or even in school, like, what were some things that stuck out to you that you felt like this is how the teacher built a good relationship with me?
Listen first and respond second. And mm-hmm. that doesn't mean as a teacher to be mute. Obviously, you have to teach.
Yeah.
But in trying to build that relationship, you're listening to how not just what the kid is saying, but their actions and how they move and how they respond to certain things, so that you can kind of ask little questions about their interests. Now, outside of the class, it's a little easier outside of the classroom because you're not forcing a lesson at the same time trying to get to know this student. This is definitely for those off situations. But I'm gonna be honest, there are things that during a lesson you can learn from a student as well.
Yeah.
But the relationship building happens outside of those learning pieces.
Yeah.
So that they will trust you during those learning pieces.
Yeah.
And so one way I'm an observant individual, so I tend to even when I look a little dissociated, I'm paying attention to how people react to certain situations, how people are talking to each other, and I even start thinking, okay, well, how if we're a student, are they the youngest of their family or are they the oldest of their family? Like I start kind of like thinking of all of these things because it helps. Are they interested in reading? I'll ask them about, like, I have to know their interest, and then I can tailor my conversation to that. Like I have found myself looking at anime and reading up on certain stories and things like that, just so that I can engage in a conversation on their level, so that they felt like I showed interest in them. So now in turn, they're going to be more interested in the advice and things that I bring to the table because I took that time.
Yes.
Now, I still don't know much about anime, I'm gonna be honest, but I'll do a little bit of surface stuff, and just because I just want to know, and it helps me to understand the student. Like, okay, you're more of an independent thinker. Like some of the things in their interests will help you to understand who they are as a person.
Yeah.
So that's my relationship building advice.
So I gotta always take it to our favorite movie, because I told you the other day, our favorite movie. If you've never seen it, first you're missing out, and I'm gonna put it up on the screen right here. Pow! Right there.
Ooh.
Okay. Now, Sister Act 2, okay, has all of the lessons you need to learn to be a quality teacher. Okay, it might take you from bad to good or even from good to great. But if you notice, Harris said the relationships are built outside of the classroom. And you got to be intentional about that. And Whoopi Goldberg, aka Sister Mary Clarence, met Rita out on the street, gave her a book, said, "Read this book. It's going to change your life." And she didn't wait to get her in the classroom and embarrassed, because she recognized that Rita was that she had potential, but in the classroom she was brick-headed. She was brick-headed.
Rita diva with a tooth.
Yeah, diva with a tooth. So you need to recognize when you can get your students and build those relationships. Some of them thrive in the classroom because they love to raise their hand and they love to be seen, right? Those are the easy ones. That's low-hanging fruit. You can get them anytime. But it's the ones that don't want to do that. It's the ones that want you to work to build that relationship, and they will ride or die for you. And I remember being in Mastery. Shout out to any of my master's students who ever, let me tell you, they gave me the business my first 3 or 4 months. From September all the way to Christmas, they were not my friends. They did not like me. They did not like me.
Not my friends.
But when I came back from Christmas break, it was like a light switch. Like all of a sudden, they all got together over break and was like, you know what? He passed the test, y'all. He passed.
He made it back.
He made it back. He came back. He's good. And ever since then, we all been cool. And it was crazy how that happened. But you have to work to build those relationships. And a lot of them, like, were in my fashion show that I do for the Focus Youth Network. So I got to see them outside the classroom, build those relationships. So when I get back to school, it wasn't an issue. And so, I'm glad that you talked about, relationships. And I think how you build those relationships will take you from good to great. Like, if you're good at the classroom, that's good. But like sitting with them at lunch, you
learn a lot at lunch.
Yeah.
And recess. You learn more than what you want to know.
Yeah. Yes, standing with them outside, or if they take the bus or public transportation, like waiting with them, like
going to their sporting events.
Yep.
Showing up when you're not on the classroom clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's hard. People have other obligations, other responsibilities. So even just asking how their game, how it was, if you are not able to attend, and just showing some interest in something that they're doing outside of the classroom, and you'll see I won't say a full turnaround, because some things take a lot more time, but the buy-in to who you are as a person will be there, and so it makes it a lot easier for you to get your point across for the majority of students. Now, for me, the difference between good and great, like we said, for me, all of those things that we just kind of talked about were more a great teacher. A good teacher is somebody that they come to work, their lesson plans are done, they know the content, and they come into the classroom, push the content, leave. That's their day. They communicate with the parents. They make sure that the parents are, they know what the grades are. They have all of the documentation to prove that this is what we're doing in the room. However, they don't necessarily know anything about the student past what they see inside of the classroom. And the kids don't know much about the teacher past what's inside of the classroom. And I'm not saying they need to know your personal life, but they can know that you like baseball. They can know who your favorite sports team is. They can know things that they can relate to, so that you guys can find a common bond, or something that you can introduce them to that they have no clue about.
They got to know that you at least don't live at the school.
Yeah, they
I
do.
seen somebody the other day that said, it was a meme that was like, yo, I swore my teachers lived at the school. And that's because, like, we used to teachers not sharing nothing. Like, so that's why I started laughing. It wasn't her. I started laughing because that's so funny. Like, some teachers are so impersonal.
Yes, they're capable of the content. They know the content, can repeat it back and forth. But it's like just talking to a robot. You get what you get. You know what the rules are in their classroom. It's the ladder is the ladder. This is what's going to happen. They're consistent, so they're going to get a response from you. But they don't have an interpersonal relationship past that point.
That was okay. I got you. I got a guy I used to work with. He was the math teacher at this high school I used to work with. You wasn't getting nothing about him outside the classroom, but you knew what your responsibilities were in that room. And he was the blandest guy sometimes. And I was like, wow, you hold this strong. I don't even know how to be that bland. It's almost like he said when he started, like, I'm gonna put on this facade and I will never break it.
Yes, this is what you get. Don't get upset.
Yeah. I'm like, wow. And some kids some kids trust that. Some kids need that structure in terms of, like, educationally. They need that. They won't succeed without knowing exactly where the bar is. He even had this circle, right, where, like, the closer you moved inside the circle, that's where the A was, and then like when you was at B, you was here and here and here, and it was cool. It was a good graph, and you could see where most of the class was, and I liked that. But then you also, like, had, the little whispers of kids that were just like, nah, don't mess with him. Like, he don't even mess with him. Like,
because you're not going to get the rise out of it. You're not going to get a response. And so, I mean, he found what works for him. And I'm not saying that he's like a horrible person.
No, not at all. Great person.
So it's not about the personality. It's not about them as a person. We're speaking on just the output as a teacher. And so that is, which a lot of people don't realize, being a teacher is separate a lot of times from who you can be outside of the classroom. We have lives outside of the classroom. And so I think that for me, like, a good teacher is somebody that is perfectly capable of doing what the job is, which is teaching, breaking things down, making sure you get it, or this is how it's broken down. This is my standard. Follow it. No more, no less. I'm going home at the end of the school day. If I do have tutoring hours, it's because I'm mandated to have these tutoring hours and office hours. And I will be here, but you will get me to, like, it's just, very like not personal exchange
Yeah.
between the two people. And a great teacher for me can be somebody that, to be honest, might struggle in the content.
Yeah. There's a possibility that
it's a possibility that they can struggle in the content, but realizing that everybody makes mistakes, everybody struggles, and is capable of taking some of their insecurities and struggles and using those as learning experiences for the classroom as well as a whole, so that they can model how a student is supposed to handle that too. I have no problem saying if I do something wrong, especially if I get a math problem wrong. No problem. And I love math, and I'm actually pretty great at it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is a ding. It is a ding to
the
to my self-esteem.
Yeah.
However, in front of the students, I'm more, you know what? I did do that wrong. I thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you can own up to it.
Yeah, own up. Yeah. And then when they make a mistake in front of me, it's not, oh my God, it's they know that it is a possibility. If an adult can make a mistake, then so can I. But if we hold that standard for students sometimes in that relationship building, and where they don't see some of themselves in us in a way, and not in our personality, but more just in our ability to react or not react. If they don't see us model certain behaviors, then there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And so our job as teachers, and it's not to parent. It's not. It's just to be another model and another example for students, for what it could be and should be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think there are a lot of really great teachers out there. And shout out to all the great, like, if you know a great teacher, tag a great teacher. Shout them out. Like, for real. Like, great teachers, I think, are few and far between, but they stand out. They are models for other teachers. And I think some teachers don't get their flowers, right? Like, they don't get the respect that they deserve for being effective, right? Like, being effective at their job. And so, this is definitely one of those things that I don't like about school, because, there's so many schools that are, performance based. That's cool. There's, and I think that, while there are some teachers that present really well because they have all of the glitz and glamour, right? Like, they decorate their class really well. And I saw this during the pandemic. Like, the teachers that struggled in the classroom were the ones that were like high flyers during the pandemic, because they didn't have to be in front of, so they could create all the great little, worksheets and upload them on the Google Docs, and like, they were all real organized with everything. And me, right? Then you got me when I'm doing high school placement, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm teaching. And so I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to get by in the classroom. When I was in school, in the classroom, kids was learning like crazy. But now you asking me to now create all these different things and do my job over here at the same time. And I say that because I saw the pandemic flip what the perception of a good teacher was for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, that's crazy. That's crazy that these people are out here getting away with murder just
because they know how to put
on
PowerPoint.
And they're good at GoGuardian. Like, I'm sorry I don't click around as fast as everybody else, and I'll just, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I know you're the GoGuardian master. But so I want to, like, when we talk about a great teacher, I want people to leave here feeling like, yo, okay, I have moments of me being great, and this is what I can really work on. And I think to really go from being a good teacher to a great teacher is, like you said, working hard to building those relationships. It's not about content, because if kids don't trust you, they can't learn from you. And I see it all the time, even now that I substitute, is that kids are like, oh, she's not here today, thank God.
Yeah.
And like, that's when you know you're a bad teacher. You're not doing it right, when your kids are glad that you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also kids who come up to me and like, listen, we normally don't like when she's out, but you're a really great sub. Can you come back tomorrow?
Right.
Like, like that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that teacher is doing a really great job in that classroom and building their capacity to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so your input, right? Knowing that if you're in urban education, you may have to work on the relationship first. It is not about your content. It is about the relationship. Soon as you get in there, every opportunity you have to build a relationship, you take it. Like, you might go sit at lunch for the first week and build those relationships. Be the only person in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh no, teachers don't have to do lunch. We got people to do that. Guess where you are? At the lunch table with Johnny.
Yep.
Building a relationship with Johnny, especially in urban education. I'm not saying that it's not important elsewhere. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that I know for a fact, because I am a black male, that my trust is built on relationships, not just what you saying to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Show me with your actions. Right. And so that is how a lot of black people trust. They build trust through actions. Don't just tell me, show me. I don't even care what you talk about.
Yeah.
You gotta show me with your actions. And so if you have to understand that about people, right? And make that effort, put that effort. I would say, like, if you're in suburban education, right? I've been in suburban education, and it's all about, do you know how to follow the rules and mandates of the school and still teach your curriculum, right? It's so clean cut. It's so clean cut. Like
that's wild.
it is. It's like it is so, everything is so clean cut. And I wish I'd give you a perfect example right now, but I just understand that there are differences because of the cultural differences. It causes a lot more planning up front on when you're in urban education. Like you said, you really have to be thinking about all types of things. Who's in what group and what. Sometimes in other places, you just throw some people in a group and it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You better figure it out. So, for me, what makes a transition from a good teacher to a great teacher is a person's ability to reflect on things that they've been through and let those reflection pieces change how they move in the future.
Yeah.
And so being able to know that something didn't go right that particular time and how can you make it better the next time, knowing that you do not have to be perfect to begin, but you can work at it. So saying I always say is progress over perfection.
And I say commit first, figure the rest out later.
Hey, so we got something in common there. So it's because people get so bogged down in having things perfect right away, and this is something that we definitely struggle with in other areas. However, when it comes to kids and education, I have all the patience in the world.
Yeah.
So just being able to reflect on what you've been through and knowing that you could have been wrong in a situation.
Yeah.
And being able to sit down and say, you know what, I reacted because of this.
Yeah.
Or I should have handled this differently. And maybe you need to apologize. Maybe it could be something that you don't need to apologize for, but you realize like you kind of overreacted or underreacted in a situation. But being able to come back and fight harder for it or adjust how you approach that situation is going to be the difference between a good teacher that just stays stuck and is like, I'm just going to keep doing this particular thing until they figure me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no budge on that.
There's no budge. They're just going to have to figure me out.
Yeah.
And versus I'm going to figure this out because I want us all to be on the same page and work towards this common goal. But I know we're all different and we're all coming with our own weird things, myself included.
Yeah. Not
just the kids. It's not just the kids' problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's this you got some things that you need to figure out too. And in regard to that new class, because every class brings out something different in you. And that's what I mean. I don't mean that there's something wrong with you. I literally mean like one class could be super talkative and you're like, I hate talking. Another class can have a whole lot of energy and now they can't sit still. And so that's like you didn't know that was an issue because your other class, they would sit still, but they were just chatty.
Yeah.
So these are just the little behaviors that you kind of have to like reassess and say, okay, well, why am I really so frustrated this year? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Because kids are gonna kid. They gonna do it, and so I think that's for me.
I like it.
Is what that the relationship, of course, but being able to know that the reflection on why that relationship is not going well.
I like it.
And willingness to change it.
That's take them two things right there, y'all. Mm-hmm. I know, and like I know it seems so simple, right?
It's hard work.
Those two things are hard work, and they seem very simple, but you can be intentional about about building relationships and being intentional about being reflective.
Right.
You can be. Those are more character type things. Mm-hmm. We're not giving you the strategy of go kneel down next to the person at a 45-degree angle and get down on their level. I remember I went to a PD like that. They literally told me when I'm going to have my, what do they call them when you're bringing the kid down? Or something conversation. I forget what it's called. De-escalation conversation. Yes. When you're having your de-escalation conversation and they are in the class and they won't get up, you walk up and you kneel down next to them and you get down to their level. And it was like a strategy, this is the behavior that's going to work every time.
They all of a sudden become Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Every strategy becomes real Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
One de-escalation, like, what?
No, listen, there's so many ways that you can build relationships and de-escalate and do all those things. And we'd be glad to demonstrate those to you. Look, if you got a school and you need demonstration, you need a PD, shoot us a message, send us an email. We'd be glad to come out and do that. But what we are talking about today specifically is two intrinsic things, two intrinsic things that make teachers better. The willingness to build relationships and the ability to be reflective about your own experiences.
Yes.
And so I think if you're willing to do those two things, you can find yourself from going from bad to good, but we skirted around you today. And then go from good to better, good to great, right?
Yes.
So, that was fire.
That was.
That was fire.
I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We like talking.
Yeah, we like talking, and I learn from her. We learn from each other, and it's really great. And I hope that y'all are beneficiaries of all of that. You know what you need to do if you've been watching. We need you to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, hit that like button, share this with a friend, a teacher, student,
and parents,
whoever.
I think that sometimes parents forget that we're people too.
Yeah. Teachers aren't people sometimes.
Teachers are people too, and so just share with a parent too that you why not?
Yeah.
Get everybody in on the conversation. We like all perspectives.
We love it. Y'all, you know what it is. It's the Co-Ed Podcast. This is Coach.
I'm Harris.
And we'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.